we see a lot in the usage numbers and the user adoption is that a sales manager plays an absolute key role in the adoption of the software. So do they need to be super tech savvy? No. Does it help them? Yes, but at least the basics. We believe that the sales community will shrink in terms of number of people, but will deliver more key account kind of profiles.
Welcome to the Revenue Discussion Podcast. This podcast aims to inspire and educate the newest generation of revenue leaders on various subjects related to sales, marketing, revenue operations, and customer success. Every week, we invite an inspirational guest who is willing to share his or her insights, strategies, and tactics that has worked or still working for him or her. Today, we invited Tom Lauwerys to the show. If you don't know who he is, he's the founder and CEO of Audience Advantage, a complete sales engagement platform that empowers sales teams to be more efficient and at the same time enable a better buyer experience. In this episode, we talk about the current sales challenges, the power of technology, and what this can all mean for sales leaders. Enjoy. Well, good afternoon, Tom, and welcome to the show. How you doing?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing excellent. I'm actually super excited to have you on the show because you are the founder and CEO of Audience Advantage. But maybe for the people that don't know you or don't know Audience Advantage yet, can you maybe tell the audience your story? Give a little bit of background about yourself. Why have you founded Audience Advantage, and also what do you do exactly?
Yeah, exactly. So back in 2016, we had a look at some of our clients, what they were doing with their marketing and sales and how that relationship was going. And also as well, with some consulting in there, we looked at their performance. And from there on out, we started to realize that there was kind of a gap in the market in terms of bringing technology to the game to improve both and with a biggest focus on the sales side. So first off, what do we basically do today? We supply sales teams with tools to help them in their challenges from converting their conversations, supporting them in their negotiations, and trying to turn around a negative solution to a positive. So basically helping them to close deals on the spot faster. And so what we do in this process is basically inject efficiency with buyer collaboration in that process, making buyers feel appreciated, putting a lot of convenience in the process, because one of the topics that's probably going to come up during the podcast a bit more is that technology plays, of course, a bigger role in the whole commercial process. And so helping sales to better understand the actual needs of a buyer and quickly transforming needs into outlines and helping them to accelerate the process, as this is better for, I think, both parties. So we're based in Antwerp, in Belgium, but we do serve an international scope of businesses that to add efficiency to their game, basically.
Okay. So I can imagine it's kind of a sales enablement tool platform. And correct me if I'm wrong, right? Where you kind of enhances the experience at a front end side, or is it more a back end solution, or maybe something complete?
It's both of them, because scope and technology wise, we come more from a backend and IT and technology, and then we really put forward the front end there, and we would rather call it from the beginning sales engagement more than sales enablement.
Okay.
Because both of them are equally important in the process, and you're going to hear me say a couple of times that technology can really help, but it all depends on how well it is integrated to the needs of the company, and that's what we see with alike CRM systems as well. So it's definitely back end, front end. So we do provide some service to our higher tier of customers in terms of their customer experience, like AR, VR, dynamic presentations, all that kind of stuff. So that's front end, and in the back end, we make sure that, for example, for large international organizations, that they really have an efficient process in place to release new content, to control content, both on the pricing, commercial side, STTs, and also in terms of dynamic and engaging content. Yeah.
Okay, interesting. So what if you would say that, what would be for you the strengths of Audience Advantage? What would really make, or what does really make Audience Advantage so unique?
Yeah, that's why we move more to the engagement rather than enablement, is because in the front end we go and look to weaknesses, to elements in the commercial process of our clients that can really drastically be improved, and from there on out we go and add in that layer of sales commercial experience, which really helps convey complex matters into something simple, and also at the same effort, have this kind of value selling involved, because what we see a lot of the times is that it's about pricing, it's about product that come more and more complex.
Mm.
Take for example cars, and I'm not talking about just the electrical part about it, but a car has become a financial product, at least in, I think, in most European countries, it has become like that. So, in order for sales to adopt and raise their sales game, get the deal done, expand, and make the customer or prospect aware that they have quite some USPs, although maybe being more expensive than the one on the left and the one on the right. It's about value. So a buyer is going to buy a better value, not a better price. And that is one of the things that Audience Advantage is really very good in.
Yeah, yeah. But the value upfront in any in customer interaction that you have. All right. So
Yeah, because it really enables like a smooth collaboration. And with smooth, I mean, you always have objections, right? You know that when you go into a sales conversation, let's say a couple of years back, it was like almost a white paper that was in front of you, and you really had to highlight who are you,
yeah,
where are your company, and so on and so on. Whereas today, with all the information floating around online, buyers know your reputation, know what you probably stand for, where are you in the tier, that there's plenty of options to investigate this. So if they're serious to go with you and into a new venture, it will be more a matter for you as a sales to turn around some maybe negatives that might be there, instead of write a blank paper. And this is where we come in with kind of a tool set,
hmm,
which is very focused on the moment, whether you're going via Teams or Zoom or face to face, where you can really value based have the discussion. And in that process, it's what we call collaborative offer making, find out what they're really after, what their soft points and what their worries and their fears are, and turn them into advantages that work well into your promise. And this is basically what we're very strong in.
yeah, and that's super interesting and super powerful. And I'm pretty sure you will be able to elaborate more on that. But before you
Mhm.
do that, there's something I want to talk about, because when I'm meeting sales tech founders, I'm always interested in finding out how you guys look at the future of sales, because you are investing a lot of research and development in it to
We
be
do.
that future. You guys want to shape it, right?
Mm.
But maybe before we do that, let's maybe start with where we are today. Or
Okay. Yeah,
maybe let's go back in time just before maybe COVID happened, because back then sales, and I think sales engagement especially, were played totally different. So can you maybe, just from your point of view, tell us the change that you have seen taken place regarding that?
yeah. First of all, I mean, the good thing is that we're still a pretty young initiative and quite small company, so we have the possibility to go fast, and we're flexible in where we want to go. So, and another part of it is, like you say, when you look at the future and we look at COVID, is that we learn from our failures, and one of them is to really fix yourself and into all kind of technical supplier relationships with choosing technology that's there to stay forever. And so we've definitely chosen now for a very flexible setup, so that we could move on all the challenges that we don't know yet and are about to come. So with COVID, for example, we kind of straight away knew from the first lockdown, which was what about here in Belgium, March 2020. Yeah.
Hmm.
So that remote sales was going to become more important. Nobody knew how long it would last for, the lockdowns, all that kind of stuff. And also from our accounts, we listened and learned pretty quickly. There were some to adapt very fast, and there were some to go really slow and accept what was there. So we knew straight away we could make a difference with remote selling. But the good thing for us is we already had the technology there, and we just had to leverage it and give it some induction, introduce it to help customers understand. And today, for example, not to go too much into detail, it's a part of our technology that we still leverage for CRC, for customer relationship centers and call centers. So because they have to do the job remotely anyway, always. Whereas in let's say account manager, key account manager, you're more in like usually face to face, but sometimes it's phone and so on. So that technology, we took it, leveraged it, and it helped us not really grow in terms of getting new accounts, but it helped us a lot and our customers as well in terms of enabling them to really adapt quite quickly to the
The new
quite challenging
circumstances.
situation that was there. Yeah.
Okay. So because so you mean the technology that you use today, and that the technology that you used previous COVID, are you then talking about the technology that you used for the customer interaction and creating interactivity with them and stuff like that, and that you now can do remotely, or what is it specifically? Can you maybe try to visualize it to me?
Um, yes, it's basically like the best example I can give like is suppose we're both buying a product online and of course you can go into like Zoom or Teams or whatever it's there and you can share your screen. But our technology basically goes around that because what we experienced a lot also with giving larger trainings, for example, to an international crowd of from Shanghai to Buenos Aires, for example. We have a lot of lag. Definitely, if you're playing something in motion like video, it's not going to work very well. So for this purpose, we already integrated this kind of technology that is what we call peer-to-peer. So we're still expanding on this today. So to really enable us via browser technology to use audience advantage just in a click always it's like seconds instead of a video which is lagging. So anything animation, VR or anything like video motion based is really technology wise streamed from a server or peer to peer to the participants instead of going over a server which is distributing again to all the participants, which makes it more slower and so on and so on.
Mm.
So we use the core technology setup to enable rich content to be delivered faster.
Okay, but that's interesting because now I have a new question for you, because you know
Yeah.
how we as sales we always have to be in control, right? We have to be in control of
Yeah.
the process, we have to be in control of the next steps, the prospect's commitment. However,
Mhm.
the internet came out, and then all of a sudden the buyers had so much more visibility in terms of information available, what the options are, what the competitors offers, and so in the essence, we I think sales kind of lost control there. And so my belief there, is what the customer wants, the customer gets, because there will always be a player ready to accommodate to those wishes to capture extra market share. But so in my
Yeah.
opinion, do you think that we will evolve even further into a situation where customers get even more information, customized, even more customized to their own context and easily available to them? And if so, what does that actually mean to the salesperson?
Well, that's one of the key topics. If you talk about the biggest challenges for sales teams today, is that not only products that seem very easy to understand on the surface become way more complex to sell. So that's number one. Marketing is, of course, plays a big part in it and in educating customers. And number two, but the sales process with all the information out there has become a lot more complex. And I think it will, I don't think, I'm pretty sure it will become more digital and more, as you say, filtered out for the buyers as well. I mean, look at LinkedIn Sales Navigator, for example. I mean, sales as well has got a couple of more fancy bells and tools to help you segment who are really your prospects and what's happening. Are they hiring? Are they firing? Are they growing? Are they losing? So this, I think, on both sides, it will go up a bit, and interesting things will happen. So I think it will be an even up game. Sometimes one's going to be ahead of the other, but that will be the way it is.
Yeah. Right, because when you look at the sales, status quo, the sales of today, what are for you like the key challenges that you see?
So one was complexity. Another one is space. A lot of what happens, because we're mainly B2B focused, a lot what happens in B2B comes, of course, from B2C. And a buyer is also a person which is used to more and who is used to more and more convenience in his buying process. Like when you go out, you just shop in online, you get it delivered to your doorstep within a day. Those are kind of things we also see in B2B in terms of expectations. Is that the buying process has to become more and more convenient for a buyer, and this is also the speed element in there. So when they want the information, they need accurate information very fast, and that's one of the challenges we see definitely when we look at how CRM systems and everything which goes with it, from digital asset management to processes within larger companies that need to really verify every step of the way before you put out an offer. So what we at least try to do is accelerate this process and make sure that whatever you send and wherever you can accelerate is really checked all the way, and really answers to that need of the buyer to have information quickly when they want to convey with their colleagues to make a decision. That's number one. And number two, apart from pace, is that some more people are involved in the buying process. Again, when we talk B2B, the average now today stands between 5 and 6 people that will at least touch the subject before you can go ahead into some kind of deal situation. So that means when you talk with 1 or 2 people on the buyer side, there will probably be 3 to 4 or 5 more people who will have some kind of influence on if you go in for a deal or not. So this is one of the key challenges as well. Is okay, you can convince those 2 people to become an endorser and resell your solution
Hmm.
inside for you to get to the next step.
The champion.
But if you fail to do so, it will probably not happen. So one of the things we also try to do a lot is not only give the right information, but information that explains the problem, very personalized to what can help this buyer for his or her situation. And on the other side, again, make sure that your 2 main buyers understand and have the engagement, or the can give the experience as well, because there's always a loss of fidelity. Because if you know your product and you know very well what you're talking about to your buyers, for them there will be some points that get lost in translation, and they might only give an explanation ranging between 20% and 40% of what you gave them. And so that's why it's so important, like you say, to control the message a little bit, and not only to give the correct information, complete information, but also think about that engaging and inspiring part that really helps motivate those internal other decision makers. So we had pace. Then there's the number of people that are talking about and about your deal and deciding about it. There's also, like the first point in the beginning of the call that we said, that even easier or easy looking products are very much more complex. Even maybe the product itself is simple, but the finance behind it is quite complex. So this can be one of the elements as well. And then linking to the second point is less human contact. I mean, if we look at the deal sizes, or the values at least thereof, it's becoming higher and higher and higher for you as a company to sell to to put in a person, or a rainmaker, so to speak, and to go and talk to your prospects. So what I mean by that is, a lot of the sale below a certain value has to be sold automatically by marketing, by lead, by machines. Basically, this is also a trend we're going to see more and more, and that we believe that the sales community will shrink in terms of number of people, but will deliver more key account kind of profiles. People that are really knowledgeable, that are both sales skilled, and also we can call it engineer or product knowledgeable, that are product knowledgeable.
Yeah.
So this is what we see as well. Yeah, because they need to address the less human contact. Again, addressing the convenience there. As a B2C buyer, when you buy a product, it's go like that, and has to be very easy to pay, to get delivered. Same way with B2B. As sometimes as a buyer, you want less human interaction, and this is also definitely a challenge for the salespeople and sales teams out there.
Okay, great. So we have pace, we have the fact that decision-making units are becoming larger, we have the complexity, and the fact that
Yeah.
there will be less human contact. Um,
Mhm.
very interesting. So now, how do you think that technology will, have a role in the development of all this? Or maybe another question first. Do you think that sales leaders should first think of current sales processes and see how they should modify that according to those changes that we see happening? Or do you think that technology will be the enabler to actually really transform new processes?
Well, it goes hand in hand. First of all, you need to know which technology you're looking at and what that technology is capable of. So that's number one. But secondly, you're totally right. Technology works only as well as it is well implemented. So the moment you know which technology you're looking at and you want to implement for your teams, and then it's time to really have your processes into place, have it tested and tried before, based on experience, based on everything that you can learn from other people that have tried it. And from there on out, knowing your own company, because every process has to be as tailored as possible. Definitely for larger organizations, we know that one size fits all doesn't work. So when you combine those, it's definitely as important to have the processes tailored to your company and premeditated before really going into action and implementing everything and so on and so on.
Okay, great. And so, when you encounter a new sales organization, sales team, and you really want to kind of deep dive in their current processes, their current tech stack, to really analyze how you could actually help with Audi's advantage. What are kind of the key questions that you ask or try to understand in order for you to see how actually you could face their challenges?
Exactly. Yeah, we developed kind of a approach with our customers can first to see what their core challenges are. It ranges from how do they do sales, but also like core elements in there, like how big is their average deal size. I mean, it's very important for whatever you're going to offer to them later to know, are they selling a product which costs, let's say, about 500 euro, or are they up there for every sale is about 1.5 million euro.
Hmm.
So this
That's a
this
big
makes all the
difference.
difference. Yeah, that's number one. Secondly, sales readiness is also, let's say, the average age of the team and experience is very important to know what are they used to right now. Because one of the topics is of course, technology remains a very sensitive topic with sales as well, like anywhere. But salespeople have this kind of a twist. How should I put it? Where if you're an accountant and you have like a new software, it has to work well. It's very rational. If it doesn't crash and it does everything financial and automates everything that you want it to do, it's great. But they can do their job and talk to their customers, close their laptop or whatever, and go home. Whereas a salesperson is probably challenged a lot more than an accountant.
It's chaos.
It's chaos to start with. They're on the front line of persuading somebody to go for your service, your product, whatever, and it's not an easy job. And then in comes technology. What we've seen the last couple of years, it's even from your hardware. I mean, sometimes we do customer visits together with our clients, and then you see they open up their laptop, they prepared everything very well, and then a Windows update starts. And I mean, that kind of stuff sounds really silly, but at the other hand, they have to be able to, based on their experience, change it in a second, um, uh, throw their plans overboard because they only have, for example, a half an hour to do their show. Um, get in there, do a 15-minute demo to, for example, to really get to the next appointment or to get done what they wanted to get done. So that's what I mean by a little bit that customer facing aspect is extra challenging. And when you put technology in their hands, it's again to compare with the accountant. If his laptop or desktop crashes, he goes and get a coffee, reboots his computer, and just goes on with the job. Whereas a salesperson doesn't have that luxury, far from it. I've been there myself quite enough times, and you just die a little bit inside, but you find a way to go through with it, reboot everything, and then pick up from where you left off, but really have that change in your head, or how am I still in a shorter time frame? And it didn't make like a really good impression that I didn't have my, because it seems that it's you that you don't have your stuff together, but it had nothing to do with you. But this is like the challenges a sales has to overcome as an extra. And that's why sales technology has to be even more rock solid, I think, than some others.
Yeah, no, I feel you. As a salesperson, you have to perform during a certain
Mm.
time frame, and I mean, you got to be the rock star during that moment. You really have to, I mean, and not like the Wolf of Wall Street kind of rock star, but really have to make sure that indeed you kind of connect, you kind of explain, kind of persuade, kind of help, educate, whatever, as a salesperson. And yeah, it's not like an accountant where you can just take a coffee while the PC has to reboot himself. That's for sure. But
No,
maybe,
because
oh
yeah.
yeah, no, go ahead, go ahead.
No, please, please.
I was just gonna ask a question related to that though. Is that because of all those new technologies coming up, that's like an extra layer going on top of the skill set of the sales professional. And so,
Yep.
do you think that, or to what extent should the sales professional be involved in all the, or to what extent should he understand all the technology that is there in place? You know what I mean? Should there be
Yeah.
a sales enablement, a RevOps kind of role that decides that for them, or should still the salesperson himself or herself be the one that decides how to play along with technology?
Well, first of all, I think it's the job of the sales enablement or sales engagement provider to make through testing, through international rollouts, and to have as much experience as you can and feedback from the users that are using your platform to make sure it's as convenient and simple as possible. Because we do not believe it's the job of a salesperson to become super tech savvy. They do need to know, and this is not ridiculing. I mean, um, up until a couple of years ago, I saw still a lot of people struggling, for example, to get their laptop on a presentation on a Beamer screen. And this is not
Oh
unique
wow.
to salespeople; it's to a lot of people. So, do they need to be super tech savvy? No. Does it help them? Yes, but at least the basics. So this is also interesting. Like, do they need to be? We see, of course, a big difference in age. When you have digital natives, it will be very different from somebody who's not a digital native and still had to teach himself or herself all those kind of tricks in the book to at least get the message on your laptop, iPad, tablet, whatever you're using out there.
Hmm.
And in terms of a platform, yes, it has to be one, two, three, yes, to be rock solid, but at least the product knowledge combined with how the technology can deliver their promise and can really work for them instead of against them. This is partly the job of the software or the platform deliverer, but it's also the job of the sales management, because this is a very interesting point. What we see a lot in the usage numbers and the user adoption is that a sales manager plays an absolute key role in the adoption of the software, because the teams that have a motivated or technology driven sales manager who at least understands the benefit of what it has to offer for her his team will always outshine the teams where they have a manager that is really not focused on technology or doesn't understand the absolute value it can bring. So that's why a manager making it part of their weekly, monthly sales cadence and sales processes, habits, rituals, and all that kind of stuff, it will have the 1 + 1 is equals 3 or whatever you're looking for kind of effect. Yeah,
Okay, no, definitely interesting. So the sales manager kind of have a big influence on the rules that's playing that are being played.
absolutely. Yeah,
Okay,
yeah,
very good. So now regarding, I mean, to continue on the technology aspect, I know that you guys are also really involved in how to leverage the power of augmented reality and VR. And
yeah.
when I read that on your website, it's not something that I encountered myself already in as a salesperson or even as a buyer. But I'm kind of curious then on your story, your experience regarding that and the technology. And do you think that maybe it has a bigger future regarding that?
It has for sure. I mean, we're probably, in terms of sales, we're still in the very beginning phases of where AR, VR, XR, all those kind of things can take you. Because as usual, like with the internet as well, it has been employed first of all for marketing purposes, on trade fairs, online, and all that kind of stuff. And then, but because of the fact we were already focusing a lot on the sales aspect of the commercial process, in 2017 we had our first AR tryout with the client, because again there it didn't came from an idea like, hey, let's use AR. No, it came from a specific pain where you had, let's say, in the proposal negotiation phase, a moment, let's say at least 50% of the times, where the prospect said, yeah, we're kind of interested, but your products, do they fit in our environment? Physically fit in our
Mm.
environment, because we already have product A and B over there. We want to employ it there, there, there. Could we make this work? And the process before was sending over an engineer, for example, make measurements. Can we hook it up to their system, and so on and so on. And then from there on out, we made kind of an AR touch to what we call our Audience Advantage platform. And from there on out, we plugged into their process. So they were, from that moment on, empowered with their smartphone, which they had anyway, or with their tablets, to really, in that meeting, get challenged, go over to the room and show it, which has the effect of really, one, the company and your product being perceived as quite innovative.
Mm-hmm.
That's one. Secondly, also the innovative way of thinking as a company, to say like, hey, we really help imagine what it could look like for you. So we take away the doubt and the fear in the process, apart from scoring visually and having that perception. And then number three is and it's very important, we allow the salespeople to share this AR experiences, not only by taking a picture of what you're showing, that it actually fits in that environment. Because remember, in the example we gave before in the podcast, between 3-4 other people that have not met you, have not spoken to you, will also be involved in the deal, yes or no? So we can share those images again with those people that are also involved in the yes or no, about this deal at the customer side. And lastly, enable salespeople to track this. So when you share the images, that when a buyer is talking about your product, your solution in-house, you get an idea, hey, they're talking about it. Maybe it's a good time to pick up the phone or send them an email, like might have been 2 weeks ago. And also enable the buyer to do this exercise again. So the Audience Advantage platform, in our case, enables the buyer to take AR and put the products of their seller and put them maybe in another corner, and also raise the awareness. Maybe ask some questions about it. Hey, can we put it here as well? And so this is why we try, and how we try to make sales more collaborative and more transparent as well.
Yeah, yeah, and definitely. You do engage interactive. I mean, you do engage with the buyer to a different level. I mean, that's you really make them
Yeah.
feel how the product is going to be, involved in their. Well, yeah, if they would have bought the product, they will know how they can possibly feel.
Yeah, and very important again, because I repeat this, it's not about the technology. It's really about the problem there is, and how can we fit in technology in this product. And let's say that they, at least for every time this happens, you save an engineer that has to drive there, take the measurements, go back to sales. Sales has to make the offer, so he has to get the measurements from, and the okay from, the engineer.
Hmm.
So imagine this time process being cut out of the sales process, and also momentum. We both know that sales is quite a lot about momentum. The moment you lose your momentum, it gets maybe put in the drawer, or you have to call 4 or 5 times to pick it up. So that's also one of the things it can do, is to keep momentum and flow in your sales process and your conversation with your buyers.
Okay, okay. Yeah, because well, though I imagine though when you do an AR VR kind of demo, it I mean it's not done today. It's not like you have the initial sales call and then you say, all right, after the sales call, I will just send over instead of a presentation, well, the VR AR, augmented reality to really make them feel how they you know, could benefit from or could see how it would stand in their office or in their warehouse or whatever the case is concretely. But so how do you then actually how long does it take you to actually have that demonstration in peace?
So it's a bit like you integrate the products into the app, and then it's ready to use. And so in this case, there's also a configurator, so you can add in modules to show the whole product range virtually in an existing environment. So in this room, for example, I'm not prepared right now, but I just could hook up my iPhone to my laptop and show how that works in this room. So
All right.
also, if we would have a Teams call and I would like to show you, I just hook it up and I can also share it with you. So in the same call, we were sharing cameras and we're sharing our screens. Even during a live call, a buyer could try to do this in her or his environment. So that's kind of the idea. It's also it's not like uniquely developed technology by Audience Advantage. No, we use what's already there to have it as integrated as possible with the devices that a buyer and a seller might have, which is basically mobile wise Android and iOS, because they have a lot prepared for you or for us. Because so when we put over a layer that really helps the collaboration and the tracking of the information, because this is also for us very important to when we start out with a client, there's always the learning about what we do. So we give back which machines out of the AR are being used most by prospects, in which environments. Could be even be, but it's totally irrelevant. At what time of the day, all that kind of stuff. So we really ask our clients, what data do you want to have out of the sales process that is basically now black box, uncovered, or where there might be no interest in, but could be relevant for decision making and forecasting in the future. So we're really very. It's not only about front end. This is when I come back to the back end a little bit. We really, as a surplus, love to give our clients more insights about what's going well and maybe not so well in their sales process.
Yeah, but again, I think that's phenomenal because that really means that you can have during the meeting a full demonstration 3D AR, where it's happening, where they are, and I think that's as you said, that's the element of speed, right? Where
Yeah.
yeah, if you can play on speed, you kind of win a lot there.
Yeah.
Interesting. So now, if you have to say if you have to go to sales leaders and just give them one of the biggest advice that you can give them regarding their team that they have to coach on technology, what would that be?
Whew. Um, this is um, so it's really focused to on their team, right?
Yeah.
Um, so in terms of sales leaders, um, it's a bit of a mix of what we were talking about before. It's first learning where the objections are. If I would coach whatever sales team in a new role, I would first talk to my team, different profiles, listen what's vibing and what's not, and then start and pick it up from there. And if the topic technology comes up, I would definitely uh, make like a plan of involving them, because this is something which is overlooked one too many times.
Hmm.
Sales teams sometimes feels that the content comes from somewhere else and it's not theirs, and they face different challenges in different environments, and therefore it's so crucial to listen to all the experiences and pains they've experienced, and they are mutual and shared between the team, so you can learn from that and see how you can mend technology to those challenges, and then make them part of your processes. Like if you're talking about your monthly reviews or your quarterly reviews, how are you doing? How are you scoring? What's your performance like? Where are you missing stuff out? And each time take technology in that conversation as well, and say, how can technology help you? What are you missing? And in terms of knowledge, or in terms of whatever you might need. And this is, I think, for us to launch a successful technology project within sales teams, It starts with definitely that part, the listening part, and taking all the shared experiences, listing them up, and see in phases that you're also listening to them by implementing it. And then I think sales can or technology can become a central element of your sales process. Um,
Yeah, so have an iterative approach to the implementation of technology and really use the feedback from the sales professional themselves that
yeah,
actually has to do those customer interactions and kind of understand what objections you have there and what is going well, but also what is going wrong or could become better. Even
yeah,
though analyzing, I mean, being aware of what the gaps are is not always an easy task. Um,
no.
but uh, but yeah, I think it has to start there, right?
Yeah, but and also have everybody understand it's not an option anymore. It's we're going to do this, and at the other hand, but if we're going to, we said is make it as digestible as possible, but also listen, implement, and improve because that's the thing. It's not something we're going to do one time and we're done. It's an everlasting process that has to be improved based on the feedback you have from the team. This is working well. This is something that used to work well, but doesn't work anymore. COVID is one example, but there's many others for companies and teams, sales teams that know that something they were selling or were selling um, might not work anymore after 2 or 3 years.
Hmm.
So
Yeah,
this is
and there I think
yeah,
it needs to become a culture, right? It just
yeah.
has to be a cultural thing that you always have to look for improvement and I mean that's part of the mindset I think as well.
Yeah,
Maybe even part of the people that you recruit, you know, just have
yeah. Probably sales is also one of the most churn sensitive teams there are in a company because of the performance aspect. And there's also where we see a lot of challenges and where we've adapted and put in a lot of extra tools to really have the induction and process focused on. Because how do you start? When you look at sales teams that have an average of, let's say, 48, 52 years old, they might not all be digital native, probably not. So, how are you going to go from maybe a well selling team in a very specific vertical and put oxygen in this
mhm,
and put in 25, 35-year olds in there and see how they can leverage technology based on the knowledge that's already there? Because some products are so crazy complex to sell, and if you've been doing it for 15 years, you probably know your job very well. But if you look at the learning curve, and I told you before that sales will probably in volume go a little bit less, but more in knowledge and specialized
mhm.
sales means that focusing on knowledge, not only of sales best practices, but really knowledge about company, about the evolution, the brand, and the products, services, is has to be a focus as well.
No, definitely. And what's your opinion on, you know, having a sales process in place or sales system, sales methodology, you know, whatever you call it, um,
Mhm.
that is like predefined? Or well, because sometimes you have, you know, a process that is quite linear, but
Mhm.
every sales interaction is always going to be in some way different. So do you then, or how do you look at that? You know, when you define a sales process where, you know, you have to plug in that technology ultimately, do you then try to create some kind of linear process which you still have the ability to be flexible in it, or do you try to do it differently or have another view on that, or, you know, what are your thoughts on that?
It's a very open question, which is probably going to be very different for a lot of the companies. If you don't know the as is situation, but I think it's always sound to at least leave some stretch and wiggle room, definitely. And it's like you say, but a lot of the sales funnels are visualized like first meeting to closing the deal and a couple of the steps in between from qualification, negotiation, and so on. But that's never how it works, right? When you look at how a buyer wants to educate herself or himself, how the selection process goes, to using and expanding. It will be so very difficult or different for every different company, even within a vertical, that it's very hard for me to give any sense making answer or feedback on that.
No, yeah, definitely, definitely. But yeah, I think I mean, it's definitely a hot topic, just defining
Yeah.
the ideal sales process, even though there is none. But I know that, before you can even implement technology, or at least that's my opinion, you still have to, to have the right processes in place. And so I think, sometimes technology can be a barrier to flexibility, can just
Yeah.
block some things that you as a sales rep would like to do, but you still have to follow the system, and so you're kind of blocked there. And so I was just kind of curious on maybe how what ways to try to avoid that at least.
Well, the thing is that a CRM is still the heart of a sales organization, right? This is where everything goes in and out. This is where your forecasting is based on, in different variations, then depending on how far you are as an organization. This is what I would say is number one, and it's like it's never utopia. It's never 100% integrated and it works well for everybody. So also there, I think get your CRM adapted to your processes, and for this moment, installed as good as it can be. That's would be when you talk about technology and sales. This would be my main focus. I'm not talking against our shop, for example. We're totally not a CRM system, but this is also, for example, part of our readiness scan when we go and talk to prospects, is see how far are they in this process. Because also when our SDR team is on the line with somebody, this is what we hear a lot. It's like, we just adopted a new CRM system. We're doing our first run, and then it's gonna take between. It's not 3 months. It's gonna take between half year.
Hmm.
Sometimes you call back 3 years later, and they're still in the process of implementing, integrated, and so
Oh
on.
wow.
We've heard about rollbacks, which have great consequences. So this is what I would focus on, and to have the CRM system at least properly set up and mended to your visioned sales
Yeah.
process.
No, but that's definitely a good advice.
Yeah.
To maybe come back to the ER VR discussion that we had earlier.
Yeah.
There was a specific question I wanted to ask, but I just kept it until the end because it's maybe more of a philosophical question perhaps. But
Yeah.
when you tell me about AR VR, I'm also thinking nowadays about the metaverses that are coming up. And so I imagine I'm not the first one and only one asking you that question. But so how do you think that maybe, that new world or that virtual equivalent of the world being whatever a metaverse can be at the end, how do you look at that and how could that maybe have a certain influence on sales?
It will definitely, but it will not be for everybody. Not yet. There's always a slow line and a fast line. There's early adopters, there are people that are taking it all the way, and it will, for the ones who fit, can really use this to up their commercial game. It's probably going to be marketing first, roll over to sales, and see how you can implement it there. And we also need to take territory into account if you talk about it. Like let's see that United States, that's where technology come from. They're going to be in this space first, very dominant, and then we in Europe are usually a bit slower to pick up. And yeah, that's the way it is, right? Um, and 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 see how we can find our way in this new technology. But there's no doubt it will be used, it will be effective,
Are
and
you
it
are you
will.
guys experimenting with it already?
That's one of the areas we're looking at, but we're not really doing a lot with yet. No, we might be. Again, we're a small entity, so the good thing is when we look at our R&D, which is proportionally quite large for a small organization, we still have room to look into this. But when we talk with our clients, with our customers, we don't see a lot of intention yet. And this is where we start, right? This is where we have the most experience. The moment we start picking up signals that it's there, we will look. We will take a closer look. Also, because we used to be one of the pioneers, and we've also learned that being a pioneer on, everything that's floating, rumoring, and so on, is also not the perfect, place to be in. You got to be very well or very picky about which technologies or which directions playing fields you go into, and which you wait a little bit. And I think this one is one of those that we're not gonna, in at least I'll talk about the next 2 quarters. We're not aggressively going to pursue in terms of R&D.
I can feel that.
But yeah, but there's still such a long way to go. So let's look at the adoption first, and then take it up from there.
No, and as you say, I mean, I don't know where your clients come from, but here in Belgium, we are pretty conservative. We wait and see what happens, and if we like it, maybe we will follow the crowd.
Yeah. We've got mainly European customers,
Yeah.
so we export a lot more than we do in Belgium. So we do have a good idea. The software is used in about, let's say, 37 markets across different accounts of ours.
Okay.
But majority is European based. So
Hmm.
that's also where we will have our focuses. Yeah.
Yeah. No, that makes sense. All right. Well, Tom, thank you so much for being on the show. If now
Thank
people want to find out more about you, or maybe Audience Advantage, where can they find you?
you. Audience-advantage.com or my LinkedIn
Audience-advantage.com.
profile. Yeah.
All right,
Tom
and say your full name for the audience, please.
Tom Lauwerys, Lauwerys.
All right. Well, now I have a last ultimate question for you, Tom.
Okay.
And the question goes as follow: if Tom was a brand, what would it stand for?
No. Thank you. I was not really prepared in that one. Exploring, innovating, and integrity.
Exploring, innovating, and integrity. That says enough about you. Well, thank you, Tom. Thank you for being on the show, and I only wish you the best. Have a
Thank
good
you. It
one.
was good talking to you. Have a great day.